Federalist 23, Part 3. Defective as the present Confederation has been proved to be, this principle appears to have been fully recognized by the framers of it, though they have not made proper or adequate provision for its exercise. Congress have an unlimited discretion to make requisitions of men and money, to govern the Army and the Navy, to direct their operations, as their requisitions are made constitutionally binding upon the states, who are in fact under the most solemn obligations to furnish the supplies required of them. The intention evidently was that the United States should command whatever resources were by them judged requisite to the common defense and general welfare. It was presumed that a sense of their true interests and a regard to the dictates of good faith would be found sufficient pledges for the punctual performance of the duty of the members to the federal head. This paragraph is a little awkward, a little written with a different style, but he focuses on the government doesn't need to be shackled with chain, and we have to give it whatever it needs so that it will perform for common defense and general welfare. Because those are the things that are given to it in the preamble to the Constitution. This is expected from the government. So, again, as we said in the past two parts of this Federalist, Hamilton's attention in Federalist 23 through 29 is with what the country needs for national defense, and how this new Constitution is going to give the government what it needs, whereas the old Constitution was deficient and defective, would not do the job. The experiment has, however, demonstrated that this expectation was ill-founded and illusory, and the observations made under the last head will, I imagine, have sufficed to convince the impartial and discerning that there is an absolute necessity for an entire change in the first principle of the system. That if we are in earnest about giving the Union energy and duration, we must abandon the vain project of legislation upon the states in their collective capacities. In other words, we should wake up and not go with the old system under the Articles of Confederation, because under the old system, you had to make requisitions from the states. Your laws could not apply to citizens of the states. It could only apply, or you had to ask the state governments to do things for you. He says that is vanity. That's crazy. This new Constitution, citizens of every state are supposed to act like citizens of the United States. The laws will apply to them. If they break the law, the federal government can hold them accountable. Then he continues, we must extend the laws of the federal government to the individual citizens of America. We must discard the fallacious scheme of quotas and requisitions as equally impracticable and unjust. The result from all this is that the Union ought to be invested with full power to levy troops, to build and equip fleets, and to raise the revenues which will be required for the formation and support of an army and navy in the customary and ordinary modes practiced in other governments. If the circumstances of our country are such as to demand a compound instead of a simple, a confederate instead of a sole government, the essential point which will remain to be adjusted will be to discriminate the objects as far as it can be done, which shall appertain to the different provinces or departments of power. See, in a way, he says we're going to be a compound republic, a federal republic where there are things that the federal government can only do, there are things that the state government can only do, and there are things that it's shared between them. Duties that are shared between them. So that word compound republic will happen here and there when scholars talk about federalism and the Federalist Papers. And then, shall the Union be constituted the guardian of the common safety? Our fleets and armies be constituted the guardian of the common safety, our fleets and armies and revenues necessary to this purpose? The government of the Union must be empowered to pass all laws and to make all regulations which have relation to them. The same must be the case in respect to commerce and to every other matter to which its jurisdiction is permitted to extend. Is the administration of justice between the citizens of the same state the proper department of the local governments? These must possess all the authorities which are connected with this object and with every other that may be allotted to their particular cognizance and directions, not to confer in each case a degree of power commensurate to the end, would be to violate the most obvious rules of prudence and propriety, and improvidently to trust the great interests of the nation to hands which are disabled from managing them with vigor and success. Vigor, again, is energy. Again, he says, the state governments, the local governments will have authority, the right to do certain things. The federal government is not going to meddle in certain things. And then the state and local governments are going to have to stay away from some of the things that the federal government is only supposed to do. And this balance, he says, will get us to a place where our government will act with energy, with determination, and will provide a happy framework for us to prosper and to go forward.